All right, everybody, thanks for joining in. This episode, we are talking about, well, I guess kind of a relatively new movie. Well, I think we determined at the end of last year that we couldn't really say a relatively new movie for us after all of the stuff we covered in 2019, but we are talking about a movie from the 2010s yet again, and this one we kind of covered, I guess, sort of, you could say, the sequel to this, or kind of the offshoot to this one. But we are talking about the movie that introduced everybody to Art the Clown, 2013's All Hallows Eve.
Yeah, buddy. This was the original to that film that we saw. What was it called? Terrifier?
Yep.
Which I had no idea was a sequel.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, I don't know if it technically is, or, I mean, I guess you could kind of say it is, but there is an All Hallows Eve 2 that came out before Terrifier came out, which I don't know that Art the Clown was in that one at all. I think that was just kind of, I guess you would kind of put that in the same category as, say, like, oh man, if this is not right, sorry guys, we are recording this episode very early by the time this comes out, but I'm going to use the upcoming Saw spinoff that's coming out, the Chris Rock movie Spiral, that's supposed to be like in the Saw world, but not, I don't know if this is the same thing or not, but
that's right. I still got to watch the trailer for that.
But and by the time this comes out, we might actually reviewed that movie, and we're not sure, because just to give everybody a heads up, we're recording this on February 9th of 2020, and this will come out the prime Halloween season, so this will come out in October. So I'm going to be editing this like at the end of September or something. I'm going to be like, oh, what? I'm going to cut that Spiral stuff out. That movie was horrible.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I guess I don't know if technically it is a sequel or not. Maybe it is, but this particular movie, though, is one of our favorite, like, subgenres of the horror world. And even when it comes to, like, Halloween-themed stuff, this is even one of my personal favorites, and I think it's kind of one of your favorites as well, but the anthology-type movie.
Yeah, I do like anthology films quite a bit. I mean, some of my favorites, it goes back to the Creepshow films, obviously, and then more recent, which isn't too recent anymore, I guess, is Trick or Treat. I know we've talked about that a lot. That's one of my favorite, more modern era horror films. So yeah, anthology films are great. And that's kind of what I was looking forward to with this, because I remember finding this one on Amazon or something a ways back, and trying to figure out whether or not I was going to watch this or not. And I never got a chance to watch it until now. But I think we've talked about Terrifier in the previous review, and I was never a huge fan of that one to begin with.
This is one of those ones that I had seen around, and I had heard some talk about here and there, but I'd kind of always put it off until we decided to do it for the show. I knew it was an anthology movie, but I wasn't sure what to expect. When it started out, I was like, okay, so this is kind of similar to some of the stuff we've seen in the past. So you have a babysitter and a couple of bratty kids, and they want to do something, and so I kind of had, I didn't look into what the actual plot of the movie was going into it, but I kind of had an idea once it even started going that, okay, so we're either going to have the kids want to watch like a TV show, or they want to watch a movie, or they want to, hear some sort of scary stories or something. But I had no idea that this was going to be, again, I mean, we've seen this before and other stuff, but I had no idea that the anthology was going to be off of a VHS tape.
Yeah, it's right up your alley, huh?
Oh man, as soon as that kid pulled that VHS tape out of his trick or treat bag, I was like, that's the best trick you could ever get on Halloween. That is awesome.
Right.
Even if it's grandparents' porn, that's still the best trick or treat you could ever get.
Too funny. Yeah, the thing that I thought was kind of weird, and my son, while we were watching it, he was watching. I think he saw the whole thing with me. Was that we were trying to figure out what era is this film? Like, okay, so he got a VHS tape in his trick or treat bag, and they all knew what a VHS tape was, which was so okay, so can't. I know the film's not like. When did the film come out? What year was it? Like
2013.
Okay, so about 7 years ago. So, but the big shocker was that the family still had their VHS VCR, connected to the TV. That kind of surprised me. So I don't know about you, but in 2013, well, I do know about you. You're a whole different story.
Yeah.
But like 98% of the population, their VCRs were, either tossed out or are wrapped up and hidden in the attic or the basement somewhere. So like the idea that it was just sitting there plugged in, ready to go, and here's a VHS tape. Let's just toss it in and watch it. Just like it, nowadays it's like, I doubt people even have their Blu-rays or DVDs hooked up anymore. But
right,
just the idea that they've got their, he had his VCR hooked up was kind of funny.
Well, and what's funny about that is we've talked about technology in movies before, and we're not the only ones that do this, but one of the things that you can always tell in movies is or one of the things that you can use to kind of determine how old the movie is the technology used in the movie. And like you said, yeah, it's really odd that they are using a VCR as kind of a main focal point in this one. But at the same time, the babysitter and then in a couple of the stories, they're using like smartphones. But then, and I don't know if you were paying attention to this or not, but then in the very last story, the third story, the phone in that one was like a flip phone.
That's right.
And I was like, wait, what? Oh, so did you film this last segment like in 1997 and you filmed the first couple? And
maybe some budget issues were put in place.
I don't know. It's so weird and usually when you are watching movies like this particular one, because this is one of those movies that, it was 2013, so I think it was kind of before the whole GoFundMe / Indiegogo crowdsourcing, my independent horror movie kind of a thing, that we see a lot of anymore. But with a lot of these early independent horror movies, and I shouldn't say early, but a lot of these independent horror movies in the 2000s and 2010s and stuff, they want to be able to have their characters use things like cell phones. And so they would always go to like whatever, I would assume, like, just go, get whatever phone you have in the drawer over there and we'll use that one. And so it's typically a flip phone. So in the first couple of segments when I saw like, hey, that's an iPhone. Oh, that's kind of modern. That's weird. Especially when like you said, after you just threw the tape in the VCR.
Right, exactly. Like what's going on here?
I know. Oh,
yeah, very, very strange. Just the idea that a VCR was hooked up still just kind of threw me off a little bit because it just did not seem like something that would be even remotely modern.
I would assume that the reason for the VCR was probably just a thing with the filmmaker. What's his name? Damien Leone, or however you say his last name. It's probably just his kind of like homage to the genre as a whole. Because I mean, that still kind of is a thing in the horror community. VHS is kind of a big thing. I mean, it's not a huge thing, but there are some people that are like, oh, you gotta love VHS. I don't know. It was just kind of funny. But but like we said, so you have this the main like kind of glue in this anthology movie is you have this babysitter, and she is babysitting these two kids who are. I mean, the boy looked like he was about ready to go to college, so I'm not sure why he needed a babysitter. She's babysitting these two kids, and they want to watch this VHS tape that he had got when they got while they were trick-or-treating, and she was like, oh, well, let me review it first. And so she started playing it, and then the kids were like, oh, screw this, we're going to watch it anyway with you. And then there is one story, then she makes the kids go to bed, and then her curiosity gets the best of her, and she has to watch the other two stories that are on the tape by herself. And I think we'll probably get into those stories a little bit, but it's your typical sort of anthology that you would expect around like the Halloween time. And you know, the one movie that this really reminded me of was that one that we had watched not too long ago. What was that one? No, it wasn't in the company. Which was the one that we watched where the guys like barged in on the girl and they're like, oh, we got to watch this tape that we just stole.
Oh, Scream Time.
Oh, yeah, Scream Time. Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was.
You know, that's funny you say that. I was thinking what it reminded me of was that other film that we watched that I think more just the production value. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. It was the one that the guys from Flashback told us to watch.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what that one was, but
The Skeleton's Closet or something like that.
Oh, Skeletons in the Closet.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, yeah. But
it had that kind of vibe to it.
Well, except this one was a little bit more enjoyable.
Right. This one was more, you could follow the storyline.
So, and the other thing, too, with this one was, like we had said before, so Art the Clown was introduced in this one. But it was kind of cool the way that, at least I thought it was kind of cool, that Art the Clown was kind of intertwined throughout the stories. Even though I know you're not the biggest Art the Clown fan.
You're a big fan of him, though, right?
You know what? I think, especially after watching this one, I think I am. As you get older, there are certain things that you appreciate that maybe you didn't when you were younger. But then there are also things that you enjoy that maybe you shouldn't as much. And there is this just like ultra violent, like uber brutalness to Art the Clown that I just think is almost comical. Because, every time you see him, he's like cutting somebody's arm off or sawing somebody in half. The only thing that I don't like about Art the Clown is that he carries a damn handgun with him. And every once in a while, he just pops somebody in the head. I'm like, what? Come on.
Yeah, he's got that kind of, yeah. And he did that in Terrifier, too, didn't he?
Right, yeah.
That's right.
Even though this movie has Art the Clown in it, it isn't the same actor, unfortunately, that plays Art the Clown in Terrifier. It's somebody different. But the girl who played the babysitter, she was actually in Terrifier. I don't know if you recognize her or not.
No.
Yeah,
No, I don't remember it enough, I guess.
Oh, okay. But yeah, she was in Terrifier as well. But before we get into the stories, though, I want to ask you something. Well, I guess I'll do it now anyway. But before we get into the first story, but like I said before, so they have this VHS tape that they got trick-or-treating. They decide to watch it. I'll do it this way. I'll explain the first story, and then I'll say what I was going to say. So the first story is basically this young woman who ends up getting drugged by Art the Clown, and then she ends up like in this sort of like capture room with these other women, and she tries to get away, and some stuff happens, she ends up getting raped by Satan at the end of the thing. But the way that it's like presented, you're not really sure if it's like a movie or if this is something that's shot by somebody, like, oh, here, I'm making a snuff film or whatever. But the thing I was going to say is, because the babysitter kept saying, like, oh, let your parents review the tape, and then if they think it's appropriate, then you can have the tape back. And all I kept thinking was, if I looked at this tape after you let my kids watch this first thing, man, I would be so pissed off you let my kids watch this, like, snuff movie.
Right.
This, like, girl gets raped by Satan.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Oh, man. I mean, there's a scene in that first one where they, like, cut a baby out of this pregnant woman's belly.
Oh, yeah. It's, like, crazy gory. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, that was one of the things I noticed with... I mean, it was the same thing with Terrifier, too. It's just, like, over the top, like, just brutal violence and stuff. But
it has that kind of, like, modern like, post-2010, maybe, violence, where it's got that, it's just very... The violence reminds me of, like, the new reboot of The Evil Dead. I don't know, where it just is so over the top and so graphic that it's just like, wow. You just kind of...
Well, and the other thing I was going to say, too, is, which I guess you can kind of say that with the Evil Dead remake, is that it's so out there, but at the same time, you can totally tell it's fake. So you're like, oh.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
sure.
That's not real.
Sure.
And then it goes from that one into this second segment where you have this woman who is, like, getting settled into this countryside home, and then she sees, like, this bright light, and she assumes something, like, crashed outside, and then all the power is gone in her house, her car won't start, her phone won't work and stuff, and then she comes to find out that some reject from Jason X had broken into her house, and there's this weird looking alien thing with, like, this like, cheap costume on. All I kept thinking about was this alien thing was, like, something that was, like, supposed to be in Jason X. That's what it reminded me of. I was like, what is this? It's like, it just, but at the same time, I was like, oh, this is kind of, like, so cheesy. It's kind of cool.
It actually was. I thought that episode was pretty cool. I really thought that was a good, like, creepy, sort of scary thing. And, even though it was, like, the whole hokey alien thing, I still thought it was good. Yeah,
the only thing I didn't like about the second episode, maybe I missed something with this, but did you feel like the second episode just kind of, like, stopped?
Yes, it just kind of dropped off but they all kind of seem sort of, like, quick like that.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know what it was with the second one, but the second one seemed a little bit more, like, unfinished to me. Like, I almost thought, so when she stopped the second episode and then, like, went to check on the kids and then came back and you knew she was going to turn the tape back on, I thought maybe, like, we were going to see, like, something with that, but nope, it just went right into the third one.
I liked it, though.
Yeah, I did, too. I mean, it was just weird. It just, like, kind of stopped. And the alien was a little hokey.
The alien was hokey, but, ultimately aliens are kind of hokey. I mean, it's hard to unless you're going back to the, the Ridley Scott Alien movie. Anytime you go with the traditional alien look, people kind of say, yeah, that's kind of goofy looking. But it's still kind of creepy if you think about it.
Yeah. I'll give you that. Yeah, then you had the third segment, which was, what was she, a costume designer or something? I remember when she was at the gas station, she was like, I'm in the movies, and the guy was like, I never met anybody in the movies before, and then she was like, I'm a costume designer, and he was like, oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But anyway, yeah, we had Art back in the last one, who was kind of back to his same antics as he was in Terrifier, where he's just hacking people up with a hacksaw. And then
that very, very graphic, very, very violent art. Just the kind of exactly the way I remember him from Terrifier.
Yep. The one thing I will say with this movie, again, this wasn't one that I was putting off for any specific reason. It was just one of those ones, I mean, the two of us doing what we do, being dreaming of being professional horror movie reviewers. We get suggestions all the time. And a lot of times we get suggestions for movies that we've never heard of before, or, we come across movies like, oh, hey, I should check that out. So, I mean, this was always one of those ones I was like, oh, you know what? If I'm homesick for 3 months and I make it through all the other movies, maybe I'll get to that one and watch that one. I mean, I wasn't putting it off for any specific reason. But I have to say, while I was watching this, it had my full attention the entire movie. It was, I didn't want to look away. I couldn't look away. Even though there was a couple of spots where I was like, oh, that's a little hokey. But even though, or I should say, even right after that would happen, then something would happen and I'd be like, oh, ew, gross. So I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I kind of wish I would have watched it back in 2013 now.
Back when it was, yeah, sure, I hear you. So are you going to give it a thumbs up?
Oh, yeah, I give it a thumbs up for sure.
Well, I'm going to be on the other side of the spectrum here. I am going to go ahead and give All Hallows Eve a thumbs down.
Ooh.
I was disappointed. I'm not an Art the Clown fan. I actually think the design looks good. I think he very well crafted, very creepy, very scary looking clown. But I don't know what it is. I just don't like the stories that he's put in. They just don't do it for me. And it's like, again, it kind of reminded me going back to that Skeletons in the Closet film where, it could have been so much. I don't know. Well, I don't know if it could have been better. To me, it just didn't seem to really totally cut it the way I was hoping it would. So I don't know. I have to give it a thumbs down because it's not a film I would ever watch again, and it's not one that to be honest with you, that I would recommend.
All right. That's fair. So no, well, again, this might be out by the time this episode comes out, but so you're not going to be running off to see Terrifier 2 when that comes out then, huh?
So they're doing a Terrifier 2?
Yeah.
They're calling it Terrifier 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's All Hallows Eve, Terrifier, and Terrifier 2. I mean, this is getting more convoluted than the Halloween series.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, next it's going to be Terrifier Kills, Terrifier Goes Shopping.